Dragon X, who the favorites were.
KT roster.
Welcome back everybody to the 2019 LCK Wildcard series. So we're going to be having a preview and a review show before the series with Mina Kim and Nuguri and Captain Jack. And this is the translation for this previous show. This is finally the moment that the playoff starts off. So first, let's check out the final result of the regular split. Griffin is on the first place, going straight to the finals, followed by SK Telecom, Kingzone, SANDBOX, and DAMWON Gaming. Today we'll be having a match up between SANDBOX and DAMWON Gaming, and followed by Hana Life Esports, Genji, Africa, and KT Roaster and Junior Greenwings are going down to the relegations.
네, 승강전에 갔네요.
네, 정말 끝까지 결과를 알 수 없었습니다. 자, 계속해서 플레이오프 일정
Then
확인하겠습니다.
let's check out the schedules for the playoffs.
오늘 와일드카드가 펼쳐지죠.
Today it's a wild card match, SANDBOX versus DAMWON Gaming. This is gonna be best of 3, and then we'll be having a playoff round 1, playoff round 2, finals with best of 5 series. The today's winner is gonna head up to the playoff round 1, facing up against Kingzone. And then SKT is waiting for the winner of the playoff round 1. And then the winner of the playoff round 2 will go to finals, facing up against Griffin.
오늘입니다. 자, 두 팀의 주요 데이터
Then
살펴보겠습니다.
let's check out the stats of both teams.
자, 일단 전력 비교를 해볼까요?
네, 글씨 색깔 자체가 포인트가
As
들어가는
you
게
can see,
샌드박스 쪽이 굉장히 맑게
SANDBOX
포인트가 잡혀 있죠.
has an extremely strong early game.
라인전 강점도
They have
활용하고
a lot
특히
of
타이트한 운영을
first
통해서
place
저런
in various
오색트를
stats.
착실히 다
For example, first threat, first dragon, dragons taken, and barons taken.
네, 그렇죠. 그리고 반대로 담원은
However, DWG, their stat actually doesn't look really good.
12의 순위에 있는데
They have the lowest
이제 너구리
stat for the first blood taken because Nuguri actually has a lot of aggressive early games. So it's really interesting because Nuguri has the most number of first deaths so far, having 8 first deaths on his own, and followed by Summit and Joker. And this is the match record of both teams. Well, the most interesting thing here is that there was never a 2-0 series. The game was every time very close, going back and forth. Even since the Challengers Korea. But however, significantly, SANDBOX has been taking down DWG Gaming this entire split, regardless of the set scores.
일방적인 경기가 없습니다. 다 2대1, 뭐 1대3, 뭐 이런 식으로 됐던 만큼 오늘 경기도 굉장히 치열할 것으로 예상이 됩니다.
Another very close match due to the very close match history record.
양팀 주요 상황, 주요 장면들 함께
This
만나보시죠.
is the highlight VCR of the previous matches of DWG Gaming and SANDBOX.
됐을지 궁금합니다.
네. 이 경기가 사실 엄청 치열했었어요. 드래곤도 엄청 많이
This was
획득했고
indeed one of the most intense and competitive game in LCK.
가운데 두 팀
It was really hard to guess who's gonna win because the game was so close and even.
이거 뭐야? 승격팀이 왜 이래? 이런 양상이었는데
네.
거기서 일단 첫 번째
And this is
경기
the
같은 경우는
reaction of the coaches.
그렇죠. 그래서 계속
SANDBOX.
보시면 아시겠지만 두 팀의
And
성장의
this is
곡선을
Nuguri
볼
playing
수 있는
Cannon.
경기들이었어요.
5-man stun with his
이 경기
ultimate.
같은 경우는 너구리 캐넨이 마지막에 쓸어넣는 모습이 나왔지만 사실 로시안으로 바텀에서 활약한
But not only Nuguri, but also story mentioning about the bot laners and the DAMWON Gaming performing so well at that series.
공룡전하고 계속 불리게끔 됐던
This is the
경기
highlight
하나죠.
for Ghost.
최근에는 오히려 그 상체 라인이 주목받는 경우가 많은데
Like
이런 리그
Lisa?
초반 1라운드만 하더라도 고스트 선수의 또 화려한
Well,
부활
because
정말
there
화제가
wasn't
됐었죠.
a huge expectation on him before the beginning of the spring split. However, Ghost was performing so well throughout the split, and that is Joker saying nice after that big win in the team fight.
2라운드에 만났을 때도 분위기가 크게
This
달라지지
is the match
않았었던
of
것
the
같아요.
second round.
좀 양 팀의 운영 그리고 환타 이런 부분에 있어서 특색 있는 조합이 나왔었고 요릭을 잘 사용하는 서밋 상대로 카운터 킥을 준비한
Summit was doing
있었지만 사실
very
그게
well with Yorick,
아주 뭐
and
좋은 활약을 보여주지는
네.
못해서
which
샌드박스가
proves that
또
he is
세트를
very good with
가져갔죠.
damage carries and also tank champions.
정글
네.
몇 번 등장했었습니다.
However, this is DWG
한타다.
네.
fighting back to SANDBOX. They are doing so well and team fight. Their engagement was really clean over there. Especially a lot of players prefer the champions with great team fight ability such as Vladimir.
결국 자야가 이제 쓸어 담으면서 한타 마무리를 할 수가 있었죠.
This is someone coaches in the coaches box.
샌드박스가 좀 더 거센 것
We
같긴
can
해요.
say the winner of the reaction of the coaches will be
정말
SANDBOX.
발큰잭도 엄청났습니다.
그렇습니다. 탑잭스가 아니었어요.
And this was one of the most scary jacks ever.
탑이 아니라
And
정글
it was
잭스로
not a
플레이하는
laner, it was a
정글
jungler.
잭스 좋아하는 선수들은 한 캐리한다라는
This
공식을
was a
그대로
Jax play from
증명을 했습니다.
OnFleek.
오히려 탑 사일러스가 약간 시무룩해지는 그런 구조였죠.
Destroying all the players, landing so many stuns over there.
네.
이렇게 잭스로
Because it is really hard to scale that much as a jungler. It was extra impressive.
완벽하게 또
네.
이득을 많이 보죠.
하지만 저 경기 같은 경우도 중간중간 불리한데도 불구하고 담원이 쇼메이커의 야쏘를 필두로 한 방 한 방을 보여줬기
And
때문에
Victor also
역시나 좀
mentioning
팽팽한
about
승부였습니다.
Damwon also performing really well up against SANDBOX, especially ShowMaker playing Yasuo against them.
서로 간의 장점을 잘 살린 경기로 치고받고 많이 했었다. 다시 좀 그렇게 기억이 나는
Reviewing all
것
the
같아요.
series, you can say there are a lot of fights whenever they face up against each other. So we'll be looking forward to seeing some of our
네,
fights.
역시 저희가 뭐 키플레이를 뽑는다면 이 양
And
팀의
we're gonna move on to the key players. First, we're gonna go through the top
네, 누가
laners.
선발 출전을 할지 벌써부터 기대가 되는데요. 양 팀의 키 플레이어 확인해 보시죠.
It's Summit
네, 역시 탑이 가장
versus Nuguri
주목받죠.
and
네,
Flame.
보시면 이제 너구리 선수 가장 최근에 이제 케일이라는 카드를
Nuguri,
선보이면서
especially his
케일
recent
이거
plays
어떻게
and
상대하지?
kill
또 게다가 또
was unstoppable.
핫하거든요.
I think a lot of players
그리고 뭐
are
승리
actually
이후에
struggling
옆구리 모드로
figuring out how to
들어가서
play
인터뷰를
against
즐기는
us.
모습만 봐도 오늘 좀 의욕 차서 너구리 선수가 선발이 나올 가능성이 높지 않을까.
we really want to find out soon who's going to start the game today up against Summit.
보여준다라는 느낌을 받았어요.
Because Summit is performing so consistently in every role. He's quite aggressive in the laning phase, but also he's really good with damage carry champions such as Jace, but he's also really good at Yorick playing tank champions. So he's also always dominating on the side lanes and macros. So we're expecting to see both of the top laners actually facing up against Summit today. And this is another key player here,
네.
the supporters.
선수 같은 경우에
Support.
시야 관련 지표가 진짜
So interesting
어마어마하죠.
thing is
시야
that
점수
Joker,
1위일
most
뿐
of his
아니라
stats
제어와드를
stay actually at the
814개에서
bottom of the rankings, but his vision score is on the first place. Maybe that is the proof that he's sacrificing a lot for his team, but he still contributes a lot in terms of vision controls.
그렇죠. 이번에 리메이크 되면서 더욱더
Especially he has been playing so well on his Morgana. He actually claimed himself as a Morgana master, and he proved that on stage.
굉장히 올라왔다고 지금 얘기를 많이
And also interesting thing is that his stats actually look pretty decent. His kill participation is on the first place, and he made second most assists so far in LCK Spring Split. And also their substitute super player BeryL did all very good in the previous case GT match, playing
네.
Tompkins,
자,
making
이렇게
a lot of
분석을
genius super saves.
완료해봤습니다. 하지만 가장 중요한 순간이 남았죠. 승부 예측.
So, who's gonna win today? Any guess?
기본적으로 와일드카드전이기 때문에
Victoria, his guess
어떤
is-
그 플리그 때 붙었던 3전 2선
It's a
크게
wildcard
다르지
series.
않은 흐름을 이어간다면
Well,
최근에
and
아무래도
if
안정적인
things
운영으로
stays the
좋은 모습
same as
보이니까
a regular
샌드박스가
split,
좀더
as
우위를
through
점하지 않을까 싶어요.
three
그래서
three
어떻게
best
보면
of three
담원
games,
입장에서는 이런
he
흐름을
still
바꾸려면
believes
결국
that
탑에서
SANDBOX
너구리
is
중심으로
a
뭔가를
lead
준비해야
in terms
되지
of
않을까.
situation,
저는
and
그렇게
to turn that
예상하고
over,
네,
he's
저는
expecting
이제
Damwon to
반대로
prepare something
담원
really
게임이 2대1
strong.
승리를 생각을 하고 있습니다.
와.
우선 너구리
But however,
선수의
Captain
이제
Jack is on the
그걸
other
통해서 이득을
the other way
굉장히
around.
많다고
He's
생각이
expecting
들고,
2-1
두 번째는
victory
이제
against
바텀이죠.
Damwon side
유클리어
because
선수의 안정감, 또
he thinks
서포터의
Nuguri's
안정감,
kill was
이런
really
것들이
strong,
최근에
and also
늘어나면서
the bot lane
좀
synergy is
확실히
increasing,
팀적 플레이로 좋은 모습들을
keep
보여주고
increasing
있습니다.
throughout the
네,
split.
이렇게
So
외나무
he's
다리에서 두
expecting
팀이
Damwon to pick up
만났습니다.
2-0
과연
victories
어떤 팀이
against SANDBOX
승리를
Gaming.
차지해서 위로 올라가서 킹존을 만나게 될까요?
So
오늘
this will be
와일드카드
the
기대해
end of
주시기
the previous
바랍니다.
show of the
팀
Wildcard
연결할게요.
series, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
한명씩 열어라
여기서 5대 패배하게 되면 4위로 떨어지기 때문에 느낌이 아예 달라요. 샌드박스 오늘 SKT전 패배를 하면서 4위로 내려왔습니다.
담원은 주목받고 있었습니다. 지금 연패 중이에요.
야 캐리했다!
이렇게 너구리 너무 매워. 너구리.
Welcome back, guys, here to more LCK 2019. And today is a special day. It is the beginning of the playoffs. Will be the wild card match between SANDBOX and DWG Gaming. Of course, I'm Valdez. With me is Papa. We're going to get into one best of three to decide who's going up against Kingzone in the next round.
And it's so conspicuous, Valdez, who these two teams are. Remember, if you're a new viewer, you only learned about these teams this year. DWG Gaming and SANDBOX, a kind of surprising duo of teams to be promoted. MVP, of course, and BBQ being relegated at the end of last year. It was a surprise to see SANDBOX entrenched in a battle for top one at parts of the season, right? They were second place for so long. They've eventually fallen to fourth. And now suddenly, these two promoted teams, one of them guaranteed to make the best of five stage, the other one still with a good first season, but that's only going to be a silver lining later. Right now, they're focused on beating their opponents.
Yeah, and it is just the one best of three that we were talking about, so a lot of mind games can come into this. You know, these teams have already played against each other twice here in the LCK and gone head-to-head. It's been pretty even overall, but I believe SANDBOX was able to pick up both of those wins, so DWG looking for their revenge in that sense. And of course, these teams, even in challengers, they were going up against each other over and over again, fighting one-on-one, but now it's really for all the marbles, and you have to expect some trump cards to come in, some weird picks, some new stuff to come in for this very important best of three.
And they are the LCK freshmen, as they put it on the translation. Nice one, G-Sun, with that one. They face off against each other, but who, Valdez, is a very interesting question, because DAMWON last week, Nuguri and Canyon was their new configuration. They were saying before, it needed to be Flame and Canyon or Nuguri and Punch to bring that experience that was clearly lacking for DAMWON in the first round robin. But then they were running just the young guns together that were playing during Kesper Cup. To me, if they do decide to go that way today, it is risky, because if DAMWON lose game one, yes, you can make substitutions, but you only have one game to get back in. 2-0 is enough to completely eliminate you here. So the roster on the side of DAMWON, very interesting question. Like you mentioned, SANDBOX 2-1, both times out. Also, it's 9.6. There's a lot of champions you consider banning, a lot of new picks coming out. Do you choose blue and red side? SANDBOX is the higher seed. It's dynamic side selection. They will choose for game number one.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you point that out, because so many new picks coming in means that, you know, even Nuguri on his scale, if he does end up playing in the first matchup, it's like, well, do we have to spend another ban to take that away? Is it just really strong? And the entire meta of these two teams playing against each other is kind of reaching the next level from this patch. So definitely some more questions to be answered still, like who is going to be playing for these teams.
And as a coach of DAMWON, you're so split. Nuguri is the more talented micro player, but Flame is the veteran voice that brought some stability to DAMWON Gaming. And you're against Summit, a guy who in lane has performed very well. And of course, shot calling falls to the bot lane, to Joker on the side of SANDBOX. So you know your opponent. If you want to fight fire with fire, you have to go Nuguri, and Nuguri is coming off a 4-0 week. But because it's playoffs, can you adjust? Can you just throw Flame in game number 2 and fight back with 2 wins in a row required, or just elimination from the season?
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. I hope you do stay with us for the entire best of 3, but we are going to jump into a VCR. Let's check this out.
그래서 뭐 동기 간의 대결이라고들 많이 얘기하시는데 그냥 뭐 만날 팀 만났다 이런 느낌이 많이 강합니다. 김정수 코치님께서 이제 담원 선수들한테 잘 맞는 픽이랑 조합을 되게 준비를 잘 해오셔가지고 그거에 걸맞는 뱀픽을 준비는 하긴 했는데 이게 서로 잘 뱀픽 싸움이 될지 안 될지는 이따 경기 때 보시면 알 것 같습니다. 바텀 얘기는 사실 안 해도 되는 게 첼코 때부터 저희 바텀이 진 적이 없기 때문에 딱히 막 상체에서 무너져서 이렇게 개입되는 것만 아니면은 그냥 오늘도 바텀이 무난하게 캐리해주지 않을까 생각합니다. 이번 프로배는 좀 화염용, 대지용 저희 되게 좋아하거든요. 네, 하나여도 좋으니까 제발 대지용, 화염용 한 번만 주시면은 저희가 빨리 끝내도록 하겠습니다. 뭐 선수들한테는 사실 얘기 안 했는데 이제 저희가 좀 더 높은 곳에 올라가면은 제가 만약 결승에 가게 된다면은 결승전 때는 좀 이렇게 화려한 빨간색 머리 색깔로 한번 가보도록 할 테니까 선수들도 높은 곳까지 좀 같이 올라갔으면 좋겠습니다. 솔직히 13승 대 11승으로 같이 와일드카드전에 만난 거에 대해서 살짝 불편한 마음을 가지고 있는데 봄 동안 수고하셨고요. 다음 썸머 열심히 준비하시길 바라겠습니다.
첫 플레이오프 무대인데 생각했던 것보다 너무 떨리고 사실 담원이랑 플레이오프 첫 상대가 될 줄은 생각 못했고요. 운명 같은 생각이 많이 들어가지고 꼭 이겨서 승자가 되고 싶습니다. 비교를 많이 애들 하시더라고요. 이제 챌린저스 코리아 있을 때는 저희가 많이 지고 했는데 이제 여기 올라와서는 한 번도 안 지고 싶으니까 이제 그런 꼬리표를 떼고 그냥 더 잘하는 팀으로 이제 인식이 되고 싶어요. 그 탑라이너 너구리 선수랑 많이 친하거든요. 오늘 조금만 못해주면 되지 않을까. 요즘 용준이가 참 많이 잘하고 있어가지고 이제 서로 합도 많이 잘 맞아서 오늘 꼭 그 결실을 맺어서 상대 바텀 듀오 박살을 내도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 많이 중요한 경기인데 다 같이 긴장하는 선수들 없이 잘 해가지고 좋은 마무리해서 좋은 경기력으로 플레이오프 계속 올라가고 싶습니다.
예상보다는 목표로 하다 보니까 여기까지 온 것 같습니다. 긴장을 많이 한 것 같더라고요. 잠을 많이 못 잔 것 같아서 좀 걱정이 되긴 한데 뭐 경기에 큰 지장은 없을 것 같습니다. 이제 그때 메타에 잘 맞는 선수들이나 이제 상대적으로 이제 상대 팀에 최적화된 선수를 일단 우선시해서 이제 선발로 내보내고 있습니다. 일단 뱀픽적인 부분에서는 저희는 항상 좀 자신감을 가지고 있는 편이라서 상대 팀에 맞게끔 준비를 한 거라 뭐 오늘도 뱀픽에서는 무조건 이기겠다라는 생각으로 왔습니다. 일단 아직 시즌이 끝나지 않았기 때문에 저희가 뭐 보여드릴 수 있는 것도 더 보여드릴 수 있도록 오늘 경기 꼭 이겨서 좋은 경기력으로 꼭 보답하도록 노력하겠습니다.
저희가 이제 LCK 처음 올라왔을 때부터 목표로 하던 플레이오프이기 때문에 실감은 안 나는데 엄청 다들 속으로는 기뻐하고 있는 것 같아요. 경계되는 선수는 아무래도 이제 서밋 선수가 아닐까 싶어요. 왜냐하면 서밋 선수가 들어오고 나서 그 샌드박스라는 팀 자체가 좀 더 단단해졌다고 생각하기 때문에 서밋 선수를 무너뜨리면 좀 쉽게 무너지지 않을까 생각해요. 고스트 선수가 이제 주도권 있는 픽을 했을 때 되게 잘하는 경향이 있는데 그만큼 이제 바텀 뱀픽도 상당히 중요할 거라고 생각해요. 오늘도 아마 누가 이기던 2대1 나지 않을까 싶어요. LCK 시즌 중에는 두 게임 모두 패배했지만 마지막에 이기는 사람이 승자라고 생각하거든요. 그만큼 이제 마지막에 제대로 된 승자를 한번 가려봤으면 좋겠어요.
So guys, we are back. Sorry about the no subtitles for that one, but definitely felt like the SANDBOX coach was a little bit more relaxed and calm. I heard the DAMWON coach talking about how he wasn't able to sleep much last night, how he was a bit nervous. Nuclear expecting a 2-1 victory for whoever does end up taking this series. And, you know, some little bits and pieces there. Obviously, some focus on the bottom lane as well, with Joker coming on in. But, again, guys, it is going to be SANDBOX versus DWG Gaming. So let's introduce the players that are coming out here.
And beginning here, of course, with SANDBOX Gaming, and they are a lineup that has really impressed us. Going to do something different. We've got Caster John, so why not introduce player by player? It's a fun way to go. Starting off with Summit, who I think has a very interesting task today. He would have had to prepare against both opponents, and knowing who to go with was not going to be an easy task. We get the confirmation, though. It's Nuguri.
There he is, always confident, fantastic in interviews, and great on camera, but even better on the Rift and on champions like Kale, like Rise. Definitely, I would say not the guy you want to see if you're SANDBOX, at least for me here, Mama.
It definitely means your laning phase is going to be way harder. This is the guy you don't want to face in the early game, but if you can keep him honest, or if he falls behind, his transition to the mid game from behind is poor. They have a lot of issues with trying to play if Nuguri isn't actually in a lead. Do you camp him, or do you find the matchup that Summit can do all the work himself? That's the question that only the play can answer.
So now we're going to get a look here at the jungle for SANDBOX. No surprise that OnFleek is going to be coming out here. A little bit of extra, you know, body language trash talk here, saying you guys are going down. Confirming that he's like, yeah, you're going down, guys.
And think of all the people he dunked on Camille at the start of the season. He has his pocket jacks that DWG Gaming know oh so well. Who faces him, though? Do they go youth or do they go experience? They go youth in top and jungle. They stick with the roster that went 4-0 against fairly easy opposition in the final week of the season. They beat down Genji and KT with these two. So Canyon, we know about his jungle Riven. That hasn't done much winning recently. His Rek'Sai has looked good, but I think Rek'Sai never gets to DWG Gaming this series. Can Canyon perform with the entire lights of the playoffs around him?
Definitely a big question to ask, as you might look to the top and the jungle. So just that combination for a little bit of a difference in favor of one team or the other. Let's take a look here at Dove, as he's
memeing.
Maybe we'll see some Galio today with the chicken skin. Yeah, it's going to be Dove, of course, here for SANDBOX. This guy has always been very consistent in my mind, and does deserve that spot in the mid lane up against ShowMaker, coming out here and trying to be cute.
He's trying to be cute, but his second round robin, definitely he grew into his position. Needs to be the anchor of a team that had revolving door around the top lane. Dove's best performance this season was actually against SANDBOX. So against DAMWON. Traditionally, he has been someone who's struggled a little bit, so it's definitely an opponent that he knows very, very well. And the height advantage is very clear for SANDBOX Gaming.
Feels that way for SANDBOX against pretty much any team that they go up against, especially once you include the coaches as their coaches. Kind of similar to OnFleek in that they're both giants, but now we're going to take a look at the bottom lane here for the side of SANDBOX. And should be no surprise that Ghost coming into 2019 has looked so much better, doing his own little celebration of that fact, and will retain that spot here on the roster.
Steals away the famous Prey Taunt, searching for power level. Ghost power level this season. He was one of the most improved players in the LCK. Yeah. Showed almost nothing on BBQ Oliver's last year. Came in and looked very impressive. And here's Nuclear. He's definitely one of the more experienced players on the side of DWG Gaming. Actually making his LCK playoffs debut all his years in the past. He was, of course, on teams that were bound for relegation, so big for him to jump onto a contender for the first time in career.
We were talking about height advantage. Maybe that's one role where DWG will get the better of him, and Nuclear certainly going to be looking to get up to that height on the Rift up against Ghost. But now we are going to go highlight our support players playing for both of these teams. Joker coming in, giving us a little salute. The only guy in the LCK that has been to the Korean Army, and He says, I salute you fans and audience as the oldest player here in the league.
He had to earn the right to pull off the salute here in Korea with the mandatory military service. So definitely an on-brand thing. He is the shot caller of the team. His KDA, some of his thresh hooks, they're not going to be otherworldly, but his shot calling was one of the big reasons the SANDBOX has been so consistent. And actually, it will be BeryL, who once again was playing in Week 10, but has by far been the sub-support on the side of DAMWON Gaming, a player that transitioned from AD carry to support over the course of his now 3-year career. So we'll see how BeryL performs. Important to note, Tom Kench has been the pick that he's returned to a lot. He just doesn't have enough games on the Rift to really have anything past the Alistair and Tom Kench.
Yeah. Always was interesting to see them kind of flip-flop between Hoyt and BeryL to try to decide who was going to be the stronger guy, but take a look at the coaches coming in as well. Got a little SANDBOX wristband there. I like that. Looks pretty cool. And might get that height comparison once again. You guys can hear what I was talking about with this coach. As we're also going to take a look at the DWG coach here. Both these guys coming out for an interview. And as I mentioned before, the SANDBOX one, a little bit more relaxed, but that is also kind of his personality.
Feel a bit like lull ties here. Not sure about the knob there, I'm sorry to say. But
yeah,
he does look, and he should be a person who is respected, because honestly on both sides, but for me on the SANDBOX side, is someone I want to talk about. Given the charges at their disposal, SANDBOX already, it feels like every time they continue this win streak, you look at their playing lineup, you say, okay, Summit and OnFleek, a feeling like they're cementing as top players, but usually player for player, against DWG, against SKT, against every team in playoffs, you look at SANDBOX, say, okay, overall as a 5-man squad, the talent quotient, and talent's always in inverted commas in League of Legends, but talent-wise, it feels like the enemy team has more to use, and yet SANDBOX went on winning and winning. It feels like the coaching staff deserves even more praise on the SANDBOX side. And can they be the architect of DWG's demise? It's important to note that SANDBOX with Side Legend have chosen blue side. That means Nuguri could have counterpick guaranteed on red side. It also means with so many different picks guaranteed to be contested. We're thinking Sylas, Ryze, Rek'Sai, Akali. There's so many picks right now that will be contested. We're not even talking about Urgot, Jace. It feels like red side should be getting the 2 picks of the 3 that are left open after 6 bans. However, choosing blue suggests we know the 1 pick that will be the demise of the enemy and that will counter future strategies coming out. So what is pick 1? What is the blue side first pick that can undo what appears to be a meta that might suit red side more?
Definitely a huge thing to look into, as we are going to be jumping into pick and ban for game number 1 here. As you mentioned, SANDBOX on blue. They're going to start off with a Kayle ban, not wasting any time. Taking one of those highlighted picks you were mentioning away from Nuguri.
Patch 9.6, all champions available. Thankfully, nothing disabled for the playoffs here. This will be the playoffs patch, the entirety of that run in Korea and around the world. So get used to it, 9.6. Morgana ban, a target ban against Joker. Even with all the criticism of his mechanics, his spirit animal is Morgana, always been known as a fantastic Morgana player. So Morg banned away. So far it's 2 Nuguri bans, and usually teams dump bans into Nuguri every time he plays because his ability on the carry side of a matchup can never be held in doubt.
It begins to raise questions. What will their 3rd ban be? Maybe just another one against Nuguri. There's still so many top laners available. Ryze, Jace still on the table, but they take Aurelia away.
So Ryze and Rek'Sai are the 2 picks I'm looking at here. I think Canyon, after his Jungle Riven days, has fallen into a nice rhythm on Rek'Sai, but on other picks I question mark him. Ryze for Nuguri, he is usually the Ryze player on DAMWON. He's the best laning Ryze I've seen in many, many years. FLICKR in his prime, yes, but in 2019 with where Ryze is at, he is unbelievable on the pick. The only team to really find a lot of success on the Yorick is in fact Summit. He's 5-0 on the pick, and it's a pick that's done a lot of losing around the world. So they're going to deny it. That means that Jace is left open, but I think Jace is the most containable he's ever been after all the nerfs. We've seen Orin work into it, we've seen Poppy. Neither of those are Nuguri picks. Does he just go for Ryze and roll the dice?
Other picks that remain available when you have to ban a selection like this are stuff like Kalista. I mean, Kalista Galio in the bot lane has been incredibly strong in recent times, and looks like they're not going to waste any time throwing Nuclear the Kalista pick What will they go for next? Will they just take that support or perhaps go for something else?
See what the decision is here. Now, Orin, of course, is the pick into Jace that we've seen cemented from Rascal, but it's not a pick for Nuguri. If you're going to run on, why not play Flame, right? So because of that, they're going to just go for the Rek'Sai first round. I think it's a very notable pick that they were able to pick up the Rek'Sai because Canyon, again, likes to be aggressive. This is a champion that is very hard to skirmish against early and is very forgiving in terms of the vision you get from the Tremor sense. So Ryze actually makes it through the second round of picks. It's important to note that Dove has been their Ryze player. Usually it would be a flex between Summit and Dove. They have a very overlapping champion pool. But Dove has usually been the Ryze player, and it's a nice denial from DAMWON. Now, the matchup into Jace isn't a fantastic one. It's decent for the Ryze, but Jace is favored in the matchup, so it's not necessarily a prized pick for Nuguri on the red side. He's going to take Jarvan and take the other very strong early round jungler. Braum would be selected by a lot of teams in this scenario, but Galio for another global, and Joker loves his Shen and Galio support whenever possible.
Yeah, you also deny it against for the DAMWON bottom lane with the Kalista Galio. Just take that one, snatch it away. And what will be the final pick here? You were talking about even a Tom Kent's for BeryL, something like that, but they're just going to go ahead and take the Ryze off the table right away.
Could be mid lane, but Nuguri is, of course, really known for this Ryze, and even in bad matchups. Remember him against Nico? We saw Nico versus Ryze when Nuguri wasn't involved, and Cuvée ran a train over the Ryze. And then, of course, we saw Nuguri stack penetration on Ryze and then just instantly delete people. He killed Lucian in under a second with just some nice skill threading, so his Ryze needs no introduction. Even in bad matchups, he can be creative with keystones and make it work, so we'll see. It ends up being top or mid lane, but a hype pickup every time DAMWON will lock it in. This means that the bot laners, the AD carry pick for SANDBOX hasn't been selected just yet, and they seem skeptical as to where the Galio will be going, so whether they're trying to herd it into the mid lane, whether they're skeptical. Rakan Man against Joker comes out, and the Lucian is the one that I like. A lot of teams have picked Lucian because it's known to be strong and then just not been able to get value out of it. That's not true of Ghost. He's 8-2 on Lucian.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to LCK teams pulling out the Lucian and winning around it, it's the early game monsters of SANDBOX Gaming who you'd bet on more often than not.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, Ghost most played is Lucian 8-2. The next one is Kalista 5-1. So they take those two away right away. Draven is left available if you did want to hop into it. But alongside the Alistar, taken away is the Braum. They'll just go ahead and snatch up the next best support in Thresh.
It is that very strong laning duo, and also a duo that can be very self-sufficient, especially after 6 with Fate's Core and Lantern, both being good disengage tools, and with the amount of engage that Galio and Jarvan provide, might mean that DAMWON will look to be self-sufficient around their bot lane. And maybe if we see Ezreal, it's going to be everyone's going topside on a farm phase in bot lane. Ezreal would be a fallback for Ghost. The Draven would be the bold choice into Kalista. We don't see it here. So because the first game of the playoffs, no one wants to lose the first game of a best-of-3 playoff series, a unique playoffs format all around the world. Just going to go for the Ezreal here. The draft only comes together with the final pick, though. The Galio status is what we're most interested in. Akali is open. There's a lot of Akali players on the Rift. Lissandra would be drafted into Ryze, maybe dissuading the top lane Ryze, because it seems like we know the lane assignments if it is Lissandra versus Ryze mid lane.
Well, you were also talking about Akali. I remember back when this matchup started to get popular, the Lissandra was pretty good into the Akali, dealing with that one. But instead of that, exploring other picks, they hover the Taliyah, but then go for Corki just for that farming matchup in the mid lane.
So this is a bold choice. Yes, Corki has a very nice laning matchup into Lissandra, but around that, there are no true tanks on DAMWON's side. So in the mid game, their execution will have to be very particular, because you lose vision control. Who's face checking and not blowing up? Looks like on that lineup, Fate's Core might have to be invested just to allow someone to ward. So because of that, DAMWON have a risky drop. But they also have players who we mentioned and paid lip service to the fact that with this configuration, with Nuguri, Canyon in the lineup, very little experience. The likelihood is that if they hit the mid game behind, they'll find it very hard to get back in. And if they're even, they'll be a little bit more risky or a chance of falling away. So they want to hit the ground running. They want to have a good laning matchup in mid. They just want to trust on Nuguri's ability to take Ryze into Jace, play around with things like Keystones and potentially jungler attention, and get the snowball in a matchup that should be Jace favored on paper.
Yeah, other side looks to be looking to the late game, but over here, lots of pick. Talk about the Cataclysm heroic entrance. You also got Lissandra in there. Then he makes it a nice amount of poke with Jason Ezreal. Not half bad for their first composition here for game number 1.
Just a really hype time. We've hit the playoffs. 90 best of 3s have beholden this one best of 3 that rules them all. Only one team can continue into the playoffs. Both teams have taken their shots. Notable that SANDBOX chose blue side. Let's see if just getting this top lane matchup that's not Nuguri favored is the reason they made that bold decision.
Well, guys, it is time. Game number 1 of the wild card starts now.
Get to look around Lowell Park, Valdez, and the thing I am most struck by is the two teams that came in with the biggest disadvantage in terms of fan groups, DAMWON Gaming and SANDBOX, having no LCK experience before this year started. We get to the playoffs, it is a full house. Tickets for the playoffs went on sale a couple of days ago, and every round pre-sold out, even though we didn't have the lineups outside of this best of 3. But it's notable, the SANDBOX and DAMWON, who started off with very meager fan groups on day number 1, reach the playoffs, and I see plenty of DAMWON and SANDBOX cheer around Lowell Park.
Certainly it does feel like as we do move along and learn a bit more about the personalities of the teams, that very likable players on both sides here. And for today's matchup, it looks like random skin sale is going to go on. I think this might only be the Korean server, but if you guys are here in Korea, you're playing on that one. Based on the champions that were banned and picked from these games.
So yeah, based on the wildcard games, kind of random selection of skins that are used. I imagine Welsh Corky will not be involved in the sale, even though it was used. We get the zoom in on another fun skin, and the BBQ Oliver's Gallia, as we like to talk about it on this stream. As you can see, win rate-wise, everything positive on the column for SANDBOX Gaming. Summit first picking the Jace, a champion that I think in some matchups will be deprioritized. Now that we've seen Ornn, we know Poppy from other regions. Tanks can work into Jace more often than not with gank assistance, but it's the first game of the playoffs. They're still looking for some priority. It's Comet once again from Nuguri. That's definitely the keystone you take to battle back and try to find unlikely lane wins. And we've already talked at length about how good a Ryze player he is. Guess what it doubles down on, Valdez? This man is very, very squishy, and thus, if you set up a tent top side, there should actually be potential inroads for both sides.
And we all know what a Jarvan can do, especially once he gets a couple of takedowns and starts to get really fast with that Relentless Hunter. He loves to go up to the top side and look for those ganks, and we already see his pathing going into the enemy jungle. Just to check things out, spot that the Raptors are in fact taken away.
We got the YouTube exclusive of pause the stream right now and check out all these secret runes down bot. Coolest ones to note are specifically in the jungle. Both junglers took Conqueror, even though Conqueror Rek'Sai hasn't been seen very much recently. It feels like we've seen more Electrocute and Hail of Blades has been a favorite. And then for the Jarvan, it's going to be Conqueror as well. So more investment into the precision tree does mean that if they can fully stack that up in extended fights, could be a lot of value. And do you go Conqueror Cinderhulk just to have a bit of tankiness, or do you double down on the Conqueror stats and go Warrior? These are things that aren't clear. If I look at this game, you go Warrior, hit the mid game, and Corky blows you up. That's pretty straightforward. But if you go Warrior, get the lane snowballing, and Corky can't face check, you feel good about it. So playing to your item build points and how the early game has gone is going to be pretty critical for OnFleek.
Definitely is going to be. Certainly a smart jungler in his own right, as Canyon looks to invade and does see OnFleek here, but of course with 3 of the buffs going the way of OnFleek, and 2 extra camps in total. It will be a level up, so no fighting going to be opted into here just yet by the Rek'Sai Canyon.
Jace and Lissandra able to push early, so double scuttle was actually picked up by OnFleek. That's one of the reasons that he has those extra camps. Rek'Sai clears the camp super fast, so not often do you see 4 minutes 20, no level 4 ping on a Rek'Sai, but no access to scuttle means that was in fact what happened in this game.
You can already see that this lane up in the top side is pushing. Could be an opportunity for a gank, but instead they're going into the bottom side. Look at this TP so early. BeryL already using his flash. He is dead meat. Now Nuclear are going to have to cleanse and flash to get away from that gank. A SANDBOX strike really early.
That's what happens in the Lissandra-Corki matchup. Corki has damage. He has under no threat of Lissandra in lane, but Lissandra roams better and pushes first in the laning phase. So nice capitalization there by Dove. Really nice team play from him. We already mentioned it. His best performances in LCK Spring were against DAMWON Gaming. And it's nice that they take the invitation to roam that Lissandra versus Corki provides in the early game. It's only later when the rockets are up, when the levels come in, that Corki can actually push fast enough to keep Lissandra honest. You look at where Corki is, right? He's on the recall. You have lots of crowd control. Galio in the lane, Jarvan joining, Lissandra roaming down. It's not like Lissandra gets involved in the play, but it guarantees that they were going to find inroads. So it's a nice team play here, and something the SANDBOX no doubt prepared.
And just her presence there, able to get double summoner out of Nuclear, which just makes the follow-up even more scary. And you were talking about the Scuttle Crabs early on. How about a third one here potentially for OnFleek? Hook does go in, but total control right now is the SANDBOX in this early game. And so OnFleek will net this one for himself once again. Should see a very early level 6 for the Jarvan as well. Not just yet, but a couple of camps later, that's coming soon.
Getting early priority for SANDBOX has been in general, their main win condition during the course of LCK Spring. They have been, next to Griffin, one of our strongest statistical early game teams, and they play very clearly more aggressively than Griffin, which is why we kind of think of them as a team that's bringing in the aggressive meta we saw at Worlds 2018, and also from the LPL into the LCK. To me, they're the most LPL-esque team we have in Korea, and with the results around the world, you can know that that is more of a compliment than anything. SANDBOX have become more and more precise about how they open up the early game, and their choice of blue side has led them to have multiple priority lanes. They probably feel a bit spoiled having early priority mid and a winning top lane matchup, and from there, snowballing, getting ahead against this very youthful lineup from DWG Gaming is a nice way to approach this series. Man, that's some interesting stuff going on when it comes to the overriding of CC.
I guess it does make sense. It does just hook you, and then if you're already in movement, I suppose, as a Galio, you can override that one. As very interesting. Joker kind of saw that one coming and was able to get away.
It's an extension of Ezreal being able to override Rocket Grab and Tristana being able to override CC. It's just interactions we don't see as commonly and stuff that's not spelled out in terms of the client as much. So they're kind of the things you pick up over time is when the priority and where the priority lies, because it's not necessarily easily readable and clear like most things in League of Legends are.
Jarvan down on the bottom side. Now OnFleek is level 6. They did just see him on a control ward at Dragon, and so they know he is down there.
Coming back to the point you made about blowing double summoner from Nuclear, it's actually had a way bigger impact on the lane than first appears, because we think about champions into Galio's spot, we think about how Vayne can just condemn away. Now think about Nuclear, who's Kalista, a strong 2v2 laning champion, with Thresh, a strong lane partner, went Hail of Blades for stronger lane presence as well, and that's the standard keystone we see. Now you can't take every passive jump forward and not worry about being instantly punished by Justice Punch and Stun on the taunt. So because of that, had to be more respectful. It's another roam.
They're gonna eat a shock blast to the face here as well, but there's no plans on this Rise. He's gonna get dunked as Summit is able to round the bend and come in for that kill.
And Dove is just finding his roam timings again so succinctly against his Corki. Second time he's been able to do it early enough to not take a massive punishment in turret plays. Jarvan backing up in mid as well. Now we see top lane fall behind, and smart of Nuguri not to flash. There was no escape from that Lissandra gank the moment he face-checked the Lissandra.
Yeah, really just has been Dove, as you did note. I mean, he's getting so many wins for the bottom lane. That was probably meant to just farm it out early on, but how about the gank in the top lane to net the 2 plates already to a Jace, who could have, you know, just been kind of going even, maybe slightly ahead of the Rise, but now he's got a really nice lead in gold after just not one roam.
This feels like great preparation. We were talking about how much we respect the coaching staff from SANDBOX, planning so many wins on a roster that on paper doesn't have those top of role players outside of Summit and OnFleek. That's been very good. DWG Gaming trying to respond with a Mountain Drake. They've got Rend and Smite. Hasn't worked for everyone, but not going to be contested by SANDBOX. I think the preparation of first pick Jace against Nuguri is actually really good preparation, because Nuguri won't play the Ornn, he won't play the Poppy, he will be looking for a carry to run in there, or just Ultra Comfort in the Rise. So because of that, it's a champion that with Snowball should actually be able to find a lot of footing on the top side for SANDBOX, whereas against other teams, you are afraid that a tank setup and a potential early gank might undo a lot of what 9.6 Jace provides.
Yeah, just taking a look at the gold as well, if you guys are wondering, it's not like the Lysandre's losing all that much in this. He's even on gold with the Corki, who has that cull building up for now, but we gotta take a look at this. You mentioned the flash being saved by Nuguri. Looks like he has some idea that OnFleek is up in the top side, waiting for Canyon to make his way down, but just the pressure once again will net 3 plates total now to Summit at 10.5 minutes. So this guy really building the stacks right now on his Jace.
Canyon actually doesn't continue going over. It isn't sure to respect OnFleek or not. The lane control ward there would have spotted him coming in, but he gets away with it in this case. OnFleek not going to stick around. Now Nuguri going to take the time to check this ward. Will OnFleek and Summit try this? Canyon just dissuades them.
BeryL did roam on up here, but you'll notice that Joker eventually also started to walk up, and he is level 6. You also have lots of teleports on the side of SANDBOX, so didn't seem like DWG really wanted to get into it. That means that SANDBOX is going to start this Rift Herald, and they really want to continue this early game domination.
Right, the Rift Herald spawning at 10 minutes now is being the focus here. Now, Canyon showed they don't want to fight by just poking, so they still don't want to fight for this, so can they actually look for a steal without losing multiple members?
Well, TPs are coming in now, so Joker in a little bit of trouble, has to proc that aftershock, finally does, and here comes Dub, trying to just burst down the jungler, and they will be able to get that in the trade of just the support. Well, kind of unfortunate that Q did not land. That would have been a dead BeryL. Flash coming in as Ghost. Really bloodthirsty, trying to pick that one up, but they got the objective. It was the Rift Herald.
And 5 members of SANDBOX invested in the play, only 4 members of DWG Gaming. So it's a 1-for-1 plus Rift Herald for SANDBOX, definitely. You like that initial trade, you can use that Rift Herald summon for turret plates, but the important takeaway is that there was actually a lot of gold donated to Nuclear from this. Maybe they've already plugged and played that Nuguri is going to have to battle back. ShowMaker's CS numbers are good, but at least overall they find a win somewhere. Was where the game was going. It felt like all of DWG Gaming would be on welfare a bit in the early game. At least Nuclear from this finds a play, finds more of an advantage, and will be able to hit his item spikes on.
See what they were trying to do, really just get that jungler out of the play while the Galio zoned. Then Ghost kind of took it into his own hands to try to, you know, stretch the play a little bit farther from there, but wasn't actually able to pick up much.
Of all the players to not really pay attention to the game state, Nuguri was the most likely in the LCK to not body block for his teammate there, but he makes a teammate move, he makes the team play work, and that means that Ghost does waste his summoner after.
And he does, returns down into the bottom lane with Joker after they did pick up that Rift Herald. Now the question is, where is that going to be used? You do see that OnFleek has it, but 13 minutes 20, he's got to pick a lane quick. Looks like he's heading to the top lane.
And SANDBOX are doubling down on winning this in the early to mid game, Valdez. It is Warrior enchant on Jarvan, so actually, now you look at both teams and you're like, okay, there are no tanks. Literally, there's pseudo-tanks like Rise and supports that build tank items, but only pseudo-tanks around. Nuguri walking up, but he might be punished.
Gonna force that flash out of him, but take a look at the roams coming in here from DWG. They really want to shut down that Rift Herald. Seeing the Rek'Sai, you know that you can't afford to summon the Rift Herald right in front of them just yet. As you have the Galio making his way up. There's the Thresh as well, so no fight's going to break out here, but the Rift Herald not going to be summoned before those plates do go down.
I mean, not all turret plates are picked up by the Jace either with all the attention. The flow-on effect of Warrior Enchant Jarvan Valdez is that vision in the mid game, which was always going to be so important with all the burst damage on both sides, is even more critical here. Because actually, if you are in a 5v5 A-ramp and the fight is forced, ShowMaker will find a lot of squishy members because being able to build armor, magic resistant health is not something that anyone on SANDBOX is going to be able to do on a budget. So you hit those item timings. 3-item Corki is going to lick his lips at how strong he should be relative to the build parts coming through from SANDBOX.
So you see here some of the plates. Looks like there's a little bit of a mix-up with the number of plates for DAMWON there. I think they only got 2 in the bottom side, which would make that 480 make sense. But how about double mounted for the side of DAMWON already at 15 minutes?
Now, they have no tank for this as the hook does go in.
And into the knockup, plus a Corki over the wall. Double teleport coming on in though, and he can't get on top of that lantern. It does mean that it will just be the trade for Canyon, who will go down as well.
Couldn't click the lantern there. Should have been possible. I think he tried to clear a ward and click the lantern. Got confused between the two. Should have been a clean 1 for 0, but that's double teleport investment, and only a Rift Herald summon after 14 minutes is enough to stop this being an overall map win for DWG Gaming.
They'll be able to get on in here and do a lot of damage to this tier 1, including maybe Demolition proc for Dub. Messes up on that one, but still a nice amount of damage. Not quite the gold return that they could have received.
Is it called Demolition proc on the Korean client?
I think so. Not 100% sure.
On English, it's demolish, so I wonder if it was demolition was the easier translation there on the Korean side. We have to play on the Korean client. We ain't got no English text on our clients, so sometimes the words get jumbled. This felt pretty jumbled also from DWG because the pick is clean, right? They get on to Galio. Galio only procs Aftershock right at the end, so he dies very fast. This should have been a pretty easy disengage. The lantern was there the entire time, but you could see that just trying to click on the lantern led to initially clearing the ward, and there's no escape for Canyon.
The Rek'Sai also not going to be ultra tanky, so just a bit of damage. And if he cannot escape, he will be going down. Speaking of damage, ShowMaker feeling the brunt of that Jace that has been already able to pick up a ton of items here. See even the Hex Drinker on top of that Warhammer. He's doing quite well for himself.
Coming back to the double Mountain Drake, the one clear thing DWG Gaming picked up that's not answered by SANDBOX. That means that SANDBOX Gaming from 18 minutes onwards need to start battling for vision control topside. You look at DWG side and Callista Rend obviously has Baron secure. Corki can do great Baron damage as well. Rek'Sai actually does decent Baron damage, but they don't have any true tanks to tank up the Baron. So it's not going to be a turn-off Baron, it's going to be a sneak Baron Valdez. So to stop the sneak from coming through, think about Rise Realm Warp or a Blast Plant over the wall. You need vision, specifically of the pit, and even control behind to guarantee that DWG 20 to 25 don't try for a pretty damn quick sneak of the Baron. Because if you can avoid that time in the game, you don't actually have to respect the Mountain Drake as much.
It is very true. We've had a somewhat extended laning phase in the bottom side as it's 18 minutes in, but still the duo lanes are going at it right now. BeryL just returning there as OnFleek and Dub going to come in with the strength they have and the help of Jace to just steal away a red buff. Small win, but really trying to exert their dominance that they have built up.
Actually kind of awkward for SANDBOX. There's still 2v2 laning in the bot lane. Ghost and Joker really want to be mid lane Valdez. Look at the item breakpoints here. Ghost is definitely ready to hit the mid lane with Iceborne Gauntlet, Miramana, and poke out, something that Callista won't be able to answer in the mid lane of Rome, but now they're going to get Rome ganked.
Okay, everything being put into killing this Galio, but they're having such a hard time of it. BeryL finally going to go down here as Ghost in a little bit of trouble, but here comes the rotation from the side of SANDBOX. They're not going to full on engage, as Summit was a little bit late to the party, but either way, Joker does go down. Both the supports go down. At least that turret does go the way of DWG.
Could have been cleaner for DAMWON Gaming. It only ends up being a 1-for-1, but it's around bot lane, and they're keeping this Ezreal cooped in bot lane. Now, one of the reasons for that is that TP is down on Dove and Summit. They use that double TP to go 1-for-1 in the kill trade, you'll remember. But it's very awkward for Ezreal to be in a side lane like this and not just looking for his traditional siege with W autos onto a turret. So lane assignments for here, the SANDBOX, are actually not getting the most out of what Ezreal usually provides at this item breakpoint. And now Hurricane is done on Kalista before you're supposed to counter-rotate to mid and not get poked out. Here is the play. It's 3v1, but Nuclear taking turret means it takes way longer to kill Ghost than they would have liked. Sorry, to kill the support they would have liked, to kill Joker. And that means it's actually a little bit unfair overall, but the fact that they kept Ezreal cooped up until now, 19 minutes in, is a small win for DAMWON Gaming.
Done that. Next straight coming up here in 15 seconds will be the Cloud, so not as much priority from the side of DWG, but they are actually sending a couple of members down there. Lots of go pings from both teams, actually.
What you can tell from the itemization here is that Nuguri once again has gone double magic penetration. DAMWON actually do more damage than SANDBOX, which you wouldn't expect with Jace, Ezreal, Lissandra on the lineup with cheaper builds to get to that damage. ShowMaker just walks up and pokes out half of Ghost's health. DAMWON actually have their damage online earlier because Summit has gone respectful with the Hex Drinker, and the Lissandra has been roaming and thus is about 40 CS behind. So given all of that, SANDBOX can't just roll up with their movement speed on the acceleration gate and the Jarvan engage range and win fights against DAMWON Gaming being respectful. DAMWON instead have focused on damage. So SANDBOX, in spite of a pretty good early game where they made some nice moves, now find an awkward spot at 20 minutes where they actually have to respect DAMWON way more than they would like.
That they do. That Bomb Amortius here for Summit. A nice pickup up against so much magic damage in the Corki and the Rise, but I do like that they have a bunch of attack damage as well. It does mean that Nuclear and those guys, if they can't get in range, can certainly blow up the Jace. Say a Hook Lands or a Rune Prison or something like that. But for now, after that Cloud Drake, nobody has really gone for any big objectives. The Rift Herald play in the mid lane did chunk down that mid turret, but it still does remain here at 21 minutes.
What did you get from Jace versus Rise and double Summoner being down bot lane? Not that much. 2,000 gold traded for 3 Drakes. So it's a decent lead for SANDBOX. It's not a game-winning one, and it feels like DAMWON actually have more control over the map. So as things lie right now, Dove might get a face check.
Okay, that's going to be that face check. You were talking about this before. Gonna send BeryL back into it. Dead. Immediately goes down as the damage cannot be put onto Joker and his aftershock. A shock blast on a ShowMaker, he barely is gonna dodge that one. SANDBOX gonna take a big win in the fight after the face check.
Big mistake from DAMWON. BeryL could have just gone out. He chose to go back in, and they did not have the reinforcements to make it work. So now the siege has started, and ShowMaker's got no health.
And the siege is, it's quite good, especially when you have that Demolish, you've got Jace, you have a ton of damage. Nice amount of damage here from Nuguri, who is trying to carry here, but in goes Canyon alone. Is gonna nearly go down, has Ignite on top of him as Nuguri and Nuclear trying to chase him down, but SANDBOX not gonna allow them to do so.
DAMWON Gaming played so well in the early game, but now in the mid game, they're beating their chest too hard and trying to go in. They're like, oh, we're doing better than expected. First BeryL, now Canyon. Make some pretty brash mistakes. These are the sort of shot calls that in the playoffs they need to land, and the sort of shot calls without flame or punch in the lineup, sacrificing the maturity for those young mechanics that they were more likely to mess up. So things have gone better than expected. These are the sort of plays they need to now second guess. They need to calm themselves down, because this game is really up in the air to be won by the next big move pre-30 minutes. Watch this play. BeryL face checks. That part is whatever. ShowMaker's in range to put in some reverse damage, and there's Fate's Fall, but you could be out. Nuguri starts to walk up and they think, okay, we'll be fine, but Joker is always going to control too much space for Nuguri to get real damage off, so it ends up just being a donation to the side of SANDBOX, and then SANDBOX gets to ignore the fact that their side lanes aren't in the best spot, siege with Jace, and get 2 free turrets from that brash mistake.
did look a little bit strange. They're really going to have to reevaluate where their strength is in this game before they do head into the next fight. One thing that they do have is Nuguri on the same level here as Summit and does do quite a lot of damage as he is building up his items. So we mentioned how Nuguri on the rise is always going to be a huge factor for DAMWON. We'll see if they can get to that late game where he can do some sick damage.
He does a lot of damage on a budget, but he's building for lane with a 1600 gold disadvantage, and Summit has now been able to kind of build everything he wants, and also is going Black Cleaver, which, given that we don't expect Righteous Glory out of Nuguri, is much more for teamfight than necessarily for lane. Usually we see Black Cleaver play the Ruin King against tanks, for example, but in this case, it feels like Summit is getting to build everything, and Nuguri on a cheaper budget can only build for lane. So there's a trade-off there for the side of Nuguri. Him being this far down on gold is not what we usually expect, but a definite understandable situation, just given the lane assignment he was put in.
DWG finally find a time to come in here and clear out some of that vision, especially with the package picked up here for ShowMaker. Having that movement speed means he can get in range and do a nice job of helping out, even if they do not have that tankiness. As now it's Joker's turn in the side of SANDBOX to sweep on through, but you'll notice the positioning of DWG. Corki in the top side with package, Nuguri down in the bottom side, really trying to split up that map and use that to their advantage to take objectives.
And you also look at item timings now. Jace super powered versus item timing soon. ShowMaker about 1,500 plus gold away from hitting the 3-item spike that very few champions in League of Legends can match. Positioning on Drake has been DWG Gaming's thing, and yeah, that's 4 Drakes and a 5th Drake Mountain on the way. DWG were never able to sneak Baron, and we already talked about how they can't tank it very well. So given that, SANDBOX, it could definitely be worse around these mountains. Hook lands.
Hook lands, and no aftershock in time, and huge damage comes through from the Ezreal to lock down Canyon. Looked like it was going to be more of a BeryL. Was Fate's called out of there to safety, so they get the pick, but a lot used here by DWG.
Everyone overrating their tankiness in this game. ShowMaker's pretty far up.
I'm trying to get the engage here on the ShowMaker, but BeryL gonna make his way in. Huge hook onto DWG, who has to self-ult here. Do they have the damage to blow him up? Yes, they will on the backside, as everybody is overstepping their bounds tonight.
Has there been a game where Aftershock proccing or not proccing has been so big, Valdez? So far, Aftershock has come in very late. Ranges have been well played around, and Joker and now DWG have found that they've had the Aftershock resist too late for their health bars to be relevant. Watch the replay here. We already noted it previously. Aftershock is needed to get something going. In their procs, he just dies straight up because a frontliner with just some health isn't enough on a Galio. On the top side, DWG doesn't get in ring of crossing range and doesn't get an aggressive ult off because he doesn't take it and gets stunned. So actually, Aftershock only procs when he's at 500 health. DWG just run at Baron.
Trying to use it against him. The SANDBOX strategy comes through, and DWG now trying to get away with this one. Not in range, but here comes the TPs. DWG from behind, gonna be
he's here
to bounce them all in the Galio ultimate. Is gonna get one immediately. Now they're trying to get out to Nuclear, but he has the GA to survive for so long. But look at Summit coming on over. DWG trying to come into this fight now. They're not gonna be able to win it. Only ShowMaker is gonna be able to get away with that Baron.
What a huge flank from DWG, so necessary. Now it's only a gold Baron. Only one Baron buff is going to be kept onto ShowMaker. They can't play multiple lanes. Nuguri can't be bailed out of all the items that Jace has with the Baron buff minions. We're going to see the Realm Warp play. This happened during replay, but it's one that we alluded to. Amusingly, Nuclear couldn't get in the pit. That was actually huge, Valdez, because it means the Baron takes an extra 4 seconds and allows SANDBOX Gaming to get in position. It reminds me of the famous Baron take that we see replays of forever. One of the most famous moments in the Champions era is when GBM made a mistake with his Zed, couldn't get over the wall. The Baron was too slow and Dandy stole it. That was actually relevant here because the speed being so much slower means that even Summit can catch up and get some of the stragglers.
Everybody is able to come on in and follow up, as you mentioned. Also, you take a look at that GA that was purchased relatively early for Nuclear. He had to blow that one and also die in the fight, so not going to get as much value out of that. So With only ShowMaker now having the Baron, SANDBOX still feeling really far ahead in terms of their gold and their damage. So they're going to be the ones actually pushing against the Baron. And take a look at the Baron penalty kill, I'd call it, on the top side. Already down 1,000+ gold here are DWG.
And now they've got the Baron in one lane, but they can't play the side lanes like we mentioned, so Nuguri gets pushed in. I love the zoom out here because it's a lot about this posturing. Both teams are so squishy. Any face checks are immediate doom on both sides. We've already seen even Aftershock's not going to bail you out. DWG with their one Baron buff, they follow the Corgi. I think your hat's off to them. That's the way it always goes. They follow the Corgi. It leads them to something, which is an outer mid lane turret. There's so many turrets and standing gold still on the map from DWG Gaming. They're 2 turrets behind. Overall gold lead is 5,000. But honestly, the setup that we got a preview of with the zoom out is so important in this game. You make the wrong face check, 5v4 is what both teams are focused on.
Does look that way, and you can notice already the backs coming in. Right now for SANDBOX, only 40 seconds until that Mountain Drake does spawn here. You never want to let any team go for triple Mountain. We already saw what could happen with double Mountain, even from behind. DWG could just rush down the Baron, so definitely another point of contention, but see if SANDBOX actually do make a big effort to get on in there.
And losing those buffs is so big against DWG's comp. If they have Baron, whether they're playing 3 lanes or grouping, you have to come to Corki. Then you're going to be in Gatling gun range and you are going to die. Now it's much harder for DWG to actually pick one person, given that side lane, specifically around Nuguri, up behind. Nuguri's going for a budget, try to kill a magic resist stacker build. Once again, focusing on magic penetration. We understood it against the Nico, who only wants to play for the 1v1. Someone has surprisingly built a lot of shred in Black Cleaver to try to group, be a grouping Jace. Grouping for the Mountain Drake, it's not going to happen. No steal comes through, but given they don't control the map, 3 Mountain Drakes only matters when something like Baron or Elder is there for the contest, and if they get control to start it up.
Or if they can somehow sneak it again with the Realm Warp from the side of Rise, but I feel like one time you fooled me, SANDBOX is definitely going to know the second time around.
I reviewed IG versus EDG on my stream yesterday, and the reason why I bring it up is that a Corki stole Baron with a 520 damage big one. Remember this big one? I don't need more AD onto this build and 3 Mountain Drakes. There are actually surprising abilities over the wall like Corki Big One that might actually be able to undo what is a pretty decent attempt at Smite. Yes, Smite will out-damage it, but the margins when everyone's DPSing it down are going to be very fine.
Especially if you can, get a little bit of teamwork in there as well, get Rek'Sai to help out a little bit. It's really going to have to be some clean Baron from the side of SANDBOX, whereas DWG, if they can just get in the pit, they could try to just rush it down with 3 Mountain Drakes and a Callista and a Corki Rise. It's insane damage they have.
And it's so tantalizing. That's what they're all saying, right? It's like, we can kill the Baron so fast, we can kill the Baron so fast. Well, they might die pretty fast, but Joker's going to back away. The reason why I say it's tantalizing is young players, hot-headed, really want to win game 1 of a knockout best of 3. You focus on what you can do. We can kill the Baron fast, we can kill the Baron fast, but they just got killed where they stood around the Baron. They can easily be flank teleported when Dove gets that cooldown back up. So the punishment on rushing Baron might be 4 members dying and just finishing the game against 1 if you're SANDBOX Gaming. So it's the margins are so fine, Valdez. It feels like this game's player point will be Baron one way or the other, but I think DWG Gaming are going to focus on what they can do and going to run at the Baron, and let's see if SANDBOX can actually take them down around that objective.
It's going to be a big one. We already got to see in that mid lane what a bit of that poke damage can do as well. We have the TP coming in from Ghost, but it's just the 80 carry. But you can see how SANDBOX, with their lead, trying to set up a bunch of poke damage before they even consider going into anything else.
And they're also setting up so many flank wards around the Baron as well, like we predicted. They have no idea that Jarvan and Juan are behind them.
Oh, but they're just going to try to go for Canyon immediately. Flashes that Cataclysm, though. It doesn't look like there's enough damage follow-up, so Canyon on the Rek'Sai will survive. It He's out of the fight for now. You can see he was sticking around for a little bit, but he's going to have to recall, and SANDBOX can't stop Baron.
And DWG need to play this game like that old League of Legends meme that existed. Garen is in every bush this game. They will blow up. 2 members can delete any member of DWG Gaming. So SANDBOX are always looking for the flank. You must always play like Lysandra and Jarvan are in every unwarded brush.
Got to be so careful. I mean, you saw that they were trying to go in as a team, but it wasn't enough. And now it looks like SANDBOX are going to be the ones to go onto this. But one ward here, he's going to spot them going on in. And Joker, waiting in the wings, is going to spot the Rek'Sai. So SANDBOX not ready to rush that one down just yet.
And they don't have the 3 Mountain Drakes to have the threat of speed be enough in order to sucker DWG Gaming to come in. And like you mentioned, the ward there was important. Hook's going to land and be cleansed. That is the QSS used by Ezreal. Notice the Ezreal build is going really old school here. It used to be Triforce Bloodthirster, now it's Iceborne Gauntlet Bloodthirster. It's a lot of tankiness. Remember that the Bloodthirster shield does scale on the armor that is provided. As Roundball play, they're gonna rush it!
They were out of vision too!
They don't know!
They have no idea, and it's 3 Mountain Drakes! See you later, Baron! That happened in the span of about 8 seconds!
Oh, I really hope the replay has the vision toggle, because that was so big, Valdez. The last round warp meant the Kalista couldn't get in. Kalista gets in this time, and the Baron explodes!
It's unbelievable. There was a question mark ping on the Baron. They're like, what the hell? Did they really take that? As you can see their response, they're gonna kind of meekly go over to the Elder Drake, as that's the next big objective here, but Baron on every member of DWG, it's going to be hard.
That's literally, you are told the person next to you is a pickpocket, and you still get pickpocketed. They felt nothing. Their wallet was lifted in half a second. DWG Gaming steal Baron, and SANDBOX, understandably, are going to be dumbfounded for at least a few moments.
You feel it here as the wards are going to be cleared out, and you can see SANDBOX do have a nice control over the Elder, but with the Baron pushing in mid, SANDBOX do have this response here and move on over to the push, as here we go, the package coming on in, ShowMaker doing that damage already to Joker. He takes a hit himself, as that is going to go wide. But you can see now ShowMaker in an awkward spot. He took cleanse. He does not have TP to get back in here.
ShowMaker actually really misplayed that. He wanted to get a pick with all his damage, but he doesn't have lifesteal in the build, and the enemy has to come to him. They have the Baron buff. So ShowMaker not having full health really does play against the Baron buff here. Just a small mistake, just a rush of blood to the head. Very likely that one of those will decide the game, because the last rotational play from DWG gives them the immediate lead, but doesn't give them positioning over the Elder Drax.
It's like double trinket coming on in. They're trying to bounce on a ShowMaker here. It's not going to work out, and now full health from the side of DWG. They're considering wrapping around.
They want SANDBOX to come to them. They have control over the Elder, and the Elder value here, holy guacamole. They have 5 Drakes. The Mountain Drake means that Corki will accidentally kill turrets, so because of that, they're going to push through mid and try to play both sides, and all SANDBOX can really do is run Elder and hope DWG comes to them.
So they're going to start it up here, see if they can actually get this one going. But take a look at Nuguri's position. Looking for the flank, as is Canyon from behind. Look at the damage. Already goes out on a dub. He's half health, and Joker just desperately going to flash on in there. Now they're going to re-engage from behind. Summit is going to try to go into that backline, but Nuclear going down up at the top side has to come in. But 2 kills do go the way of DWG, and somehow they're able to turn that around.
They get the Elder as well. Chase got backline access, but you can't answer the front line. You can't answer Corki in any way. Realm Warp used again. The recall to stop there being any backdooring attempts. And watch these turrets explode.
See you later. That's one of them. We got a TP coming in too, and they're not wasting
They have to fight them now, otherwise the turrets will just die as an afterthought.
Looks like they're going to go in for the Nexus turret, but doesn't seem like DWG show any signs of stopping here. They're continuing on. They want to win the game right now.
Because of the Elder. The Elder's with Mountain. It's insane.
They just don't even exist anymore. As the shot flash is just laughable.
Just kill the turrets, kill the Nexus.
They're trying to kill Nuguri here, but he flashes away, and he's got a massive shield on Fleek.
Nuclear's
not able to do enough damage. Look at Nuclear in the back line. Just gonna auto it down, and GG, DWG Gaming coming in from behind, take game number 1.
They make the right shot call. You have 45% bonus damage to Structures. Just kill the Structures. Don't worry about the KDAs. The Elder comes down, SANDBOX tries to get in the back, they kill the Kalista, but the Corki does all the heavy lifting. That was an action-packed game, and DAMWON Gaming just about get over the line.
Gotta hand it to them. They put a lot of focus on those Drakes. They rolled well with all the mountains, and with the Rise, that's like the perfect comp to go for it too, with Kalista and Corki. The insane amount of damage to knock down those objectives. If they're out of vision for 2-3 seconds, you might just lose the Baron, and we saw that happen a couple of times.
Nuguri for the win, says this OG TV fan. Hello to you. Been here a couple of times already. I'm sure that O Gaming is broadcasting this as well. That was a bit of a barn burner. Definitely there was some mistakes on both sides. We could definitely see the sort of thing where VOD review would bring a lot for both coaches to take away from it. But overall, DAMWON Gaming, it was that Realm Warp, right? A Realm Warp won them the game. Would love to see it with the Vision toggle, but the Realm Warp to pickpocket Baron was so beautiful, and the saddest question mark ping of, what? How did we lose the Baron?
I don't have the sound on. Did they just take that objective? Weren't they just in the mid lane? Yeah, they were, all 5 of them, and then they poured it into the Baron pit, took it away. I'd like just someone to make a timer shot of like how long exactly it took with like the timer ticking. It's probably like 7.5 seconds.
I think in 2 times speed, it would be instant. In half speed, it'd be real fast. We can look over the numbers here. Nuguri did more damage. Probably a lot of it backloaded to that final fight, but mostly it had to be at the whims of Summit, who had an item lead. He picks up his Rise, the team works around him, and Corki, who was a passenger for so much of the game, bring on the Baron, bring on the Elder, and you can see that SANDBOX's gold lead, which extended to 36 minutes. A Baron, 2 Barons, Elder, game over.
Insane damage there from ShowMaker, was able to scale on up, and well, they made it happen, especially in that last fight. They stuck together, and that's really where I feel like DAMWON were able to put the nail in the coffin, take that Elder away, and win the game. So props to them. They take game number 1. Guys, this is only a best of 3 to decide who goes up against Kingzone in the next series of the playoffs. So one more win, and DAMWON could be moving on. So make sure you guys are tuning in for the next one. Will be game number 2 of SANDBOX versus DAMWON up next.